Welcome to If the Public Only Knew, the show that pulls back the curtain on what it really takes to build and lead a business. Host Gary Cinderbrandt sits down with some of today's most dynamic CEOs, founders, and leaders to dig into their origin stories, hard-earned lessons, and the missteps that nearly derailed it all. These are unfiltered, no-hype conversations designed to inspire, challenge, and fuel your own journey. Now here's your host, Gary Cinderbrandt.
Welcome back to If the Public Only Knew. I'm your host, Gary Cinderbrandt. Today we're joined by Justin Banner. And when I started to look Justin up, Justin, I have to admit I put Noggin in the wrong way about 3 times. So apparently there's mental health services. You were a writer for Motor City Magazine. I don't know what I came up with. But anyway, I'm happy to welcome you to the show. Just to position things a little bit. The first thing Justin and I talked about was my PTSD left over from my post-college years working in a restaurant that had 400 tables and served 1,200 meals. And what interests me about the latest thing that Justin's built is a program to make running a restaurant a little bit less frenetic and a little bit more logical. Justin essentially is in the business of finding a problem that exists somewhere in an established business and coming up with unique methodologies using a combination of his own smarts and experience, some AI, and some custom software to make things run smoother. Justin, welcome to the show. Happy to have you today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Gary. And yeah, PTSD in the restaurant space is not unusual, man. Anybody that's been around it has a little bit of that, and the people that in it probably have it. But
Man, I
it is a
watched The
fun.
Bear. I watched The Bear and I get PTSD. It's a show.
It's a great place to problem solve, though, right? It's a great place
Oh,
to problem solve.
it's true. And you're never going to have one that's not a problem. So I'm fascinated by how you moved from what you were doing before. We talked a little about stuff you were doing in the lighting business, and you designed from a marketing perspective. You came up with some ways to automate marketing. Where did the idea come from to say, okay, I've got a certain set of skills, I've got some experience, I've got some wisdom. How did you then decide, okay, I'm now going to go out and identify areas that can be improved at scale using tools that literally weren't available 5 or 10 years ago? Talk to me about that a little bit and the urgency or now the knowledge to build from the problem backwards, as opposed to what we see most people do, which is, look how cool my tech is. What do you mean nobody's going to buy it? It's really cool. Yeah, but it doesn't solve anything, which is how most people build tech. So walk me through that if you would.
Yeah, of course. So the most recent thing we came out of was a merger, meaning two companies came together. I had a marketing tech stack, and he had a SaaS product, which is a software that powered lighting showrooms. And so it was something that they used for years. And then we eventually merged those two businesses together because they served the same customers. And that's where I got my really entry into the SaaS world, right? The marketing subscription, or not marketing subscription, the software as a subscription or as a service, and something that people pay monthly for, an ongoing fee for. And I
Did
was
you
the
know
CEO.
anything about that at all prior to that? Did you understand how SaaS worked at all before
I
that?
did, yeah, because I had worked with it, but not on it. And so this was the first time I had managed projects specific to it, coders and developers and all those things. And when we merged them together, I became the CEO of the joint venture of both
Interesting.
companies together. And it was time for the existing CEO to exit. He decided he wanted to retire, actually. So I inherited both companies. And so it was, a little bit of trial by fire, but also a great foundation because it wasn't starting at zero. It had a 10 or 12-year history before I took it over. The marketing product was new and, became just went really fast because of the existing customer base that they had, and it became kind of an add-on to that product. And so the two products went to market together to serve the same customer, solving two different needs, but like you said, still serving needs. And business owners need their, need those problems solved for them. And so that's kind of where it started. And then eventually sold a venture capital company in 2022. And then I stayed on for another 2 years to run it as part of the agreement.
So you had a private equity company came in, they took it private,
They did, right.
and then you had to stay around. So the best day is when you sold it. The second best day is when you left.
I think the best day was when I
Okay.
left. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It is really interesting for an entrepreneur to be managed again. That's a
Yeah,
really mindset shift, and we don't need to go into that. But it's not an easy transition.
I know.
So I was, when the time was up, the time was up, and I was ready to start another entrepreneurial venture. And so
It's
you
kind
kind
of
of
like
asked
buying a
where
boat.
where this one came from, and it was really from a my partner's brother who had a very successful restaurant, and it was the partner that we did the SaaS and marketing product together. He had a very successful restaurant, but he felt like he was married to it. He felt like he didn't have a life. He felt like he couldn't get away. He felt like if he wasn't walking around telling people what to do, nobody knew what to do, and nothing got done. And I had enough restaurant experience through my 4 years of college to know that that was not an uncommon problem. That when I had to leave for the day, I had someone walk around and manually check me out, physically check me out, walk through my station and make sure that I refilled this and I rolled this and I, put this straight and I cleaned this right, and then I could leave. So I knew that that was an issue, and I honestly couldn't believe that it hadn't been solved in the 20 years since I had been in the restaurant business. But very often they're still running on, digital or paper checklists, or if they're really organized, they have a paper checklist, and most restaurants have nothing. And they just have kind of institutional knowledge that gets passed to all these new employees all the time. And so training never ends. So that was really the start of it. And we spent about 2 years developing the solution to it, which wasn't easy to come by, but we knew we had a problem to solve.
So how did you solve it? I mean, is it a combination of hardware and software? Does it report up to some supervisory
Yeah,
monitor? How does it all come together?
Yeah, exactly. At its simplest level, it's a digital version of those paper checklists. That's an easy way to think about it. But the beauty of it is it becomes automatically assigned out by a manager to a position on a daily basis. And so as you check in for the day and you say, I'm the hostess today, I'm the server today, I'm the prep cook today, as soon as you choose your position, 8 or 10 tasks load in, and that 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 is what you have to accomplish before you can go home. Now, these aren't the things that you'll do kind of in your sleep and that you already know how to do. These are the things that get forgotten in restaurants: the maintenance, the preventative maintenance, the infrequent things, the inspection things that always are just left behind and are forgotten, right? And so, any of those things that usually get forgotten until the manager thinks about them are now automated for people to actually do on their own. And
So
so
it's like a regular task would show up, like the refrigerator's got to be cleaned once every whatever.
that's right.
This has to be checked, and the tasks are assigned out ahead of time and then reported back. So it seems so logical. Why wouldn't everybody do that?
Right. And honestly, what's been really interesting is that we started in the restaurant space, and every restaurant owner is like, yeah, we need that. We even talked to McDonald's, and McDonald's was saying, no, we don't have anything for our maintenance. And I was like, this is McDonald's we're talking about. How do they not have anything? They're the process gurus, and they had nothing. And we have expanded into other verticals because every single business has checklists that they need to get done, and they don't have a good process for assigning them out. This is just a really, really simple thing that has been overlooked, that most business owners don't think about, and they don't realize that they have checklists, but they really do. And yeah, they're like, yeah, I'd love to get that off my plate. I'd love to quit reminding people about that. I would love to know if that got done when I wasn't there, right?
So, it's incredible. It's just one of these things you look at and you go, well, yeah,
Give me just
no, it's
one
okay.
second. I'm
No,
super sorry. My battery's about to die.
no, it's fine. We edit anyway.
Figured you would, but I don't want you to think I left you. I just saw that it was in the red. Okay, I apologize.
That's all right. They'll do the edit.
Okay, we won't die now.
There you go. Um, so I mean, the obviousness of that idea, as soon as you hear it, it's like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Especially having worked in a restaurant. Do you get involved with, for instance, maintenance would make sense, food ordering, things like that as well? Like if they're
So
running low
the
on a
beauty
certain
of it
thing,
is that we can do anything that they want. This is a process for creating process. And so
got it.
part of it goes into what do you want to get off your plate? What are you tired of repeating yourself? What are you tired of following up on? What are the things that just don't get done that need to get done? When we find those dusty corners of the business and put them on an automated schedule, and it just takes so much stress off the owner's plate, off the manager's plate, that they don't have to keep those things in their head anymore. Now they're managing the process instead of being in the process.
Does
And
it
it's
pop
such a
through on an
shift.
app on the phone? Does each person have to have it come through on their phone, or how is it communicated in the restaurant?
Yeah, so we have two different ways, but it is an app, and so it either needs to be on a shared company device, which we can provide, or through their own personal device if they prefer. But either way works just great. They can toggle easily between positions on a shared device, or there are mobile devices that the company can provide or that the individual can put on their own phone.
So I'll share a little bit of inside baseball with you. I mentioned it before we started. I work as a ski instructor with Vail, and I'm a seasonal employee. So when the mountains open, I work. But the onboarding is unbelievable. It's just 15 different things. But to get there, I've got to go through a Microsoft authentication process. I then have to sign on to my Microsoft account, but that's a problem because my GoDaddy accounts are also Microsoft, so it always sends me to GoDaddy. Then I have to go back and look at an incognito browser to get on. Then I have to verify that I'm there. Then I have to go find this completely other application called whatever they want to call it, but I won't tell you that. And then I have to go to my open tasks. Then I have to enroll to fulfill my open tasks,
Wow.
fulfill my open tasks, said that I complete my open task, make sure that rolls back up so that by the time I show up, my pass works. It's like nine
Brutal.
steps. Right.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every year they make it better and it gets more complicated. It breaks more. The ultimate was when they had the orientation the other day,
Yeah.
they sent us all a Zoom link. 50% of the Zoom links didn't work.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
hi, we're here from tech to help you. Um, so what you're doing is right at the point of sale, where it's the only thing that matters. And it sounds like it doesn't sound like it's a very overly robust app that needs enterprise level software. It sounds like it can probably run on a local machine.
And that's the beauty of it, really, is keeping it light and not integrated with everything else. And so it's not overly complicated. We think that the winning proposition here is just keeping it simple. There are a few things that we built in, like each checklist item might have multiple steps in it. It might require a photo. It might require you to, whatever. But for the most part, it's really straightforward and simple. And I've used a lot of the project management software out there, and a lot of it's just overly complicated. It is hard
It's
to
well, it's
use.
again, they're building tech for the sake of tech.
Right.
Um, I think of the industry standard in financial services is Salesforce.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great example.
There is no possible way to figure out quantitatively if anybody's ever made an additional dollar off of Salesforce.
Right. Right. Right.
I mean,
It's a
because you at
nightmare.
first, yeah, most people are using a fraction of the capabilities. They have some strange database configuration, so you can't put external products into it, and you just give up on it half the time. And a lot of folks that I work with who have Salesforce on their machine, they keep all their notes manually and they'll scan them and they'll stick PDFs into the client record.
Yeah, a lot of times a company has to say, if you want to get paid, put it in Salesforce, and that's the only reason you'll go in there. Is is,
Well,
is,
yep.
is
And there's
that's
some that are getting a little smarter. A few of them are now allowing their advisors to record calls with clients' permission, and
yeah,
an AI basically
yep,
transcribes and highlights the calls,
yep,
and it pops something in Salesforce. It might pop a follow-up note,
right,
but that's all at the very forefront,
right,
just using some generative AI.
right.
It's not even coming close to what I think you could probably see happening, because your app, to me, seems like it's got all sorts of possibilities. For instance, do you take, when you're looking at a restaurant equipment is not cheap. And I would venture to say that since there's nothing that requires the owner to mandatorily perform service, that if something breaks, it's probably more expensive than if they could have intercepted it. So I know in aviation, by way of example, we want to talk about a checklist industry, that if you're flying your own airplane, unless that airplane is signed off every year by an FAA certified mechanic, you can't get insurance, which means you're not flying. Now, in that, they know that a certain part is going to last a certain number of years. The part could be working completely fine, but you go in for that annual, they're changing that part. Why? Because 99% of the time it's going to fail in the next year. So we're changing it now. I imagine if you started to do things like that as well and had information from manufacturers as to, look, this is when this service has to be done because you've got this refrigeration unit and you can either fix the coil now or you can buy a whole unit in 2 years. I imagine you've probably already thought of that, of course, but
But you're right on. And the truth is, most owners, business operators are not aware of what a preventative maintenance schedule should look like or be. And so that's where, you mentioned AI and the power of it that's information at our fingertips that can go into the app in seconds now, right? And so what's the make, model, and serial number and year, right? And we can tell you exactly and then put it on a schedule for you. Right. That's exactly
and
the
probably
kind
get
of
paid by those manufacturers to do the service.
right, right.
No, I like your business model, dude. This is smart. This
So
is
yeah,
really
I mean
smart.
that's a good marriage of now that information is so readily accessible, how do we make it useful, right? So there's difference between information being available, it's a commodity now, but how is it useful? Translating it into at our fingertips into useful and beneficial to a business is kind of where I think we
Well, I think you're really describing the difference between, the IoT and the actual usefulness. It's great that my refrigerator tells me I need milk, but great, thanks. Um,
yeah, yeah.
but now when we start to get into how am I going to apply the information that's a result in the form that it means something for me, and it feeds back and gives me something I didn't have before. Talk to me a little bit about where you see misperceptions in the evolution of AI, and not from the standpoint of data centers or the singularity or any of that nonsense. How do you see that enhancing the human condition as we go forward?
And I totally do. And I'm 100% on board and I love every second that it's around. I love it. The misperceptions are, I think, fear, right? I think fear based and not embracing the technology. It was really interesting. I was watching a show yesterday, and it was happened to take place in the late 1800s, and they were going to the lighting of a building for the first time with Edison, and he was going to light this building, and there was fear in the people about what this electricity was going to do and how many jobs it was going to take and who it was going to replace, and they were scared of what they don't know. And that same thing is happening with AI. Those that are embracing it, have a gold mine, have one of the greatest opportunities in the world that's ever been presented to them, and have an ability to enhance the human condition beyond anything that we've seen. Now, those that are running from it and not embracing it, right, they're going to be the later adopters, and that's okay. But I do think that there is a massive opportunity for those that embrace
So, what do you say if you're getting into a conversation with people that they kind of know it's out there, they probably haven't used anything to do with it yet, but they're like, oh, AI is going to replace every job out there, or they just have a lack of understanding of what the case may be. Um, how do you answer something like that?
it very easily because I've been through this. The internet didn't replace jobs, it created new. I remember when I was a kid, everybody thought robots were going to take over the world. And it was like, robots are going to put everybody out of jobs. Robots are going to do everything. Well, here I am 40 years later, and robots are still doing some things. They don't do everything well. There's great use cases on assembly lines, but did it replace an assembly worker? Yes. But did it create a maintenance worker? Yes. Did it create a process control engineer? Yes. Did it create a computer programmer? Yes. Does it replace workers or displace workers? I think it displaces workers. And that's what AI is going to do. In fact, it's going to be amazing. Instead of taking a line of code and trying to figure out for 3 hours where the bug is because you forgot a semicolon. It's fixed now in 3 seconds because it's instantly identified, right? To me, it's a dream. I have had so many bugs solved, problem solved. When an error pops up on my screen now, I put it into AI and it tells me how to troubleshoot it. Like that's amazing. That's a miracle.
Which vibe code do you use? Using
I
Claude
just
code
used it.
or
I just used Chat GPT. Yeah,
yeah, chat's
yeah.
pretty good.
And I do the enhanced version, and I've tinkered
Yeah.
with some other ones, but I that's kind of my go-to because I started on it and I'm most familiar with it, and I have it organized, and I have it somewhat trained, and I have the add-ons that I need. So I've kind of customized it to me. I think it's just because I started there.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. I use 3 or 4 platforms every day.
yeah,
And the app that I built, I've got 4 AIs integrated into it,
very cool.
and it's got generative, predictive, and probabilistic.
Wow.
And within a year, I'll have it doing agentic stuff against like massively large, disorganized pieces of data,
Yep.
which I've accumulated and are out there. But there's no possible way I could catalog it, code it, tag it,
Right.
and organize it. Instead, I can
Right.
ask it a question, and it's going to look at this massive thing of stuff and it's go, here's your answer.
It's
I'm going to say,
it,
I wish I would have thought of that. Well, you did. You just didn't know you did. So that's where I think it can really, really help.
love it. Yeah. So what's interesting is it has a great ability to take existing information and organize it and find insights. Where I say the humans still have need is it doesn't create. Can it create something? Yeah, but it's all based on existing things. It can
Yeah.
meld together. It can take ingredients that are in the pantry and make a cake. It can't find a new ingredient, right? That's the humans. We have to create. We're the creative engine. And this won't stop creativity. If it stops creativity, we're using it wrong. We have to be the new input into the algorithm, right? We have to be the new ideas into the algorithm for it to get smarter over time. It's only going to evolve as smart as humans are and humans become. It can't, very rare, I don't know of any instance where it's created new information that doesn't exist. Maybe a new insight, maybe a new summary, maybe a new way of thinking about it.
I've seen, there's so many arguments about what it's going to do and where it's going to go.
Right.
And I think one of the best, if we look at kind of real jumps in culture, um, I recently saw for the second time the movie The Imitation Game
Uh huh. Yeah.
with Turing, and why they call it the Turing test.
Yep.
Can you tell if the answer is coming from a person or a computer? Is really the test that you want to have. With AI, I think essentially there's no way you can tell half the time. Um, I mean, I can write out a letter and I can say, look, I want you to send this letter and write it in the style Jonathan LeCaire would
Right.
write it if it were. And it goes and researches Jonathan LeCaire, and all of a
Right.
sudden it's like we're doing this, this, and this, or are we? I mean,
Right.
it's hysterical what you can get into with it.
Phenomenal.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think, originally when we started with just, Chat 3 and 3.5, we were doing most of the training
Right.
on the
Right.
LLM. But now you're at Chat 5 and 5.1, and Chat's got such extraordinarily large models to work with that now you're getting output that is much more predictive than it used to be.
Right. Right.
Um, now I think, working backwards from this massively disorganized global data set
Yep.
and being able to send agents in and pull down an answer from 15 different places, I think we're alive at a really fun time.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Um,
But what I love is that it still requires a human to say that's a good response or a bad response. For us to
so,
say, look, those are terrible generative things, or it doesn't know how a human's going to interpret it. And so it's really
right.
cool to see the human interacting with
And you can always tell it, I don't like that answer. Keep working.
it. Right. And it will. And it will. But
I'm
that's,
always
yeah.
very polite to those things, just in case the singularity does occur. I want to know that at least I had manners. So, what do you tell people out there that are working on this? They're every day is the same. It's Groundhog Day. It's like they're leading lives they would call of quiet desperation. They're getting up, they're going to work, they're hoping they don't get fired, and they've got some idea somewhere that's been scratching the back, and they're just afraid to commit or do it. Moving over into the entrepreneurial realm, I mean, frankly, I didn't know how difficult it would be because when I became a financial advisor back then, they called us account executives, I was 24 years old. I didn't even know what I didn't know, but literally starting from scratch. I didn't have any downside, I didn't have any risk at that point because I had nothing to risk, but I didn't want to fail. If I were in my 40s, even 50s, and wanted to break out and do something like a lot of entrepreneurs that are now successful have done, how do you walk to or through that new thing, walking away from something that has at least supported you up until that point? What's that mental gymnastics look like before you take that shot? And what is it that you see some people do that in retrospect you wish they hadn't done?
All great questions. And I took that leap in 2008 when I quit my full-time job and launched my first full-time entrepreneurial venture. Um, I coach people now to keep your job, job, as long as you can and grind this out, because the extraordinary amount of financial pressure that puts on you to make your venture work creates desperation and bad decisions. And so I say, have a use your income source as a springboard, but don't walk away cold turkey unless you've got venture capital. And if you've got it that early, you're doing it wrong. So don't do that. What you should do is find a customer of one. Find a customer of one. Don't build anything. Don't spend money. Don't develop anything. Find your first customer in concept and say, would you pay for this? Do you like this? How would you change this? Then you find a second one and then a third one before you do anything. And you should have 5 to 10 ready to go that say, this is the best thing ever. And I would pay something for it if it worked a little bit like you describe it. And then you can start bringing out versions of it that are really early and they're getting benefit for and that you're just teasing them with. And this is validation because I promise you, as soon as they play with something, they're not going to like it. And so before you try to get 100 customers, try to get one and try to get one happy one using it and make it 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And before you build anything, have five
No, that
people that
makes that
say,
makes
if
all the
you,
sense in the world. And without the tools that are available now, you could never do that. But now you're at a position where you don't need to stand up an engineering team out of
that's
the
right.
gate,
That's right.
because you can get the concept and demonstrate the concept. I think you're exactly right. Do you think that's given rise to a lot of the venture firms who only used to look at, A and B rounds, like substantial A and B rounds, now really dipping down into the seed and pre-seed space?
I think so. I think so. There is so much cool stuff that can be done before you need $10 million, right? And they want to get in and help shape the idea. They really are betting on a person at that point and not a product. They see somebody young and hungry that's going to figure it out. And yeah, I think that that's right. They want to get in early where they can get priced better, right? Get better deals. And then they know that if they're in 20 of those, one's going to pop, right? And that they got in at a really good valuation. So from an entrepreneur standpoint, you don't want that. From a venture capital standpoint, it's cheap for them to do that. It's easy for them to do that. It's easy for them to not spend a lot of money and get a pretty high interest, right? They're calling the shots if they have the check and you have no customers. You're calling the shots if you have customers and could take or leave their check.
So your business that you're building now, and you have obviously experience with venture cap and private equity. And I've had clients that have sold to private equity and they love the fact they're getting that fat check and they show up for work, 3 months later and half their friends are fired because
Right,
they don't
right.
need them.
Oh, they just
Um,
want to, yeah, they want to get
yeah,
money.
and everything comes out of it.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, it's not your passion project anymore. You're just looking at the calendar and trying to hit your numbers. So when you look at something like that, I think your guidance is spot on. I think it's directly there because you're using really what businesses always did before venture capital, which was bootstrap.
Which I
And
think is the only way to do this.
I think you're right.
It's really interesting when I go into all these forums and I love to coach entrepreneurs. I go into Reddit, I go into Quora. The number one question is, how do I raise money?
How do I
Number one
what? You got
question.
to speak up just a little bit if you would.
The number one question in the
That's better.
forums is, how do I raise money?
Yeah.
That's not the right question. You need to get creative. The answer is, how do I do this without money? The answer is, how do I pull this together? How do I get resourceful? If you think money's going to build your business, it won't. Money's going to give you a bigger problem of people who want to get paid back at 10x what they gave you. It's it doesn't solve your problem, it creates new problems. So solve your problem in a resourceful way with bootstrapping it, and you're going to be worlds ahead of where you ever need to go. Very few businesses now, because of all the tools that are out there, need big money. They just don't to get validated. You can do just about anything with resourcefulness. Doesn't matter if it's a building a rocket to go to Mars. You can build a concept bootstrapping it and prove the concept, get the customers, and then you probably don't need money. And that's probably the best position you could be in. If you want to put fuel on the fire and try to boom it overnight because you have a model that's all it lacks is gas in the engine, you're probably 1 in 500, and then do it. But most people are not in that position to have a proven model that just needs more gas.
In the area of concept, how important is things like first mover advantage? I understand the concept that if you do that and you start to get customers, you're building a natural moat. And I'm sure you discuss that a lot in your coaching. But how important is it? Because essentially, that concept is IP. We're talking about intellectual property that is hard to protect. Most of it's very difficult to protect. So, how do you keep that moving, preventing someone that hears about your idea just from taking it and walking off with it or imitating it?
It's really interesting because I don't fear that at all anymore. I've been around long enough to know that if I went and told my idea to 99 people, zero of them have the ability, desire, passion to grind through and execute on it. I used to believe that the magic was in the idea. It's in the person willing to grind. Now, if you
Fascinating.
told a person willing to grind that saw your idea, that got lit up about it, that had enough fortitude to go out and grind and get it off the ground, more power to you. Take it and run. We're going to validate the space. There's plenty of fish in this sea in just America, and now it's a global landscape. I mean, just the restaurant space alone blows my mind. There's over 1 million restaurants in America,
Wow. How is
right?
your early? I know you're in beta right now with this product.
Right.
How is that going so far?
It's good. And honestly, we're in the feedback loop. And so it's slow and it can be frustrating. It's in the hands of 12 restaurants, all with different ideas and different opinions about what it should have and what it shouldn't have. But it's great at the same time because we're getting operators to use it. And so we've been through about 6 rounds of development now on our MVP. So it's getting ready for a beta expansion, but we have a good waiting list built up of people that want to use it and are ready to use it as soon as we're ready for that release. And so, that's exactly what we wanted to do: get the simplest product into their hands and tell us why it sucked and where it's great, right? And then we can be really nimble at this early stage to improve upon the concept.
It's funny because what you're describing is easily transmittable and useful in almost any startup business, especially one where you're not selling hardware, you're actually selling information that's being rendered in a way that has a direct impact on the business. Your comment earlier about how most restaurants basically just depend on institutional knowledge. This is the way we do things, kind of a thing.
Right.
Clearly, the risks in something like that are extraordinary
Yeah. Right.
because that doesn't always pass down and it also isn't always easily definable.
Right.
It's
Right.
one of those, back in my day, this is how we did it. Well,
Right.
it's not that day anymore.
Yep. Right.
It's
Right.
today.
Yep.
So there's an easier way to do it. Uh, I think about sometimes people that don't understand if you hit the return key, it's the same thing as hitting enter on the little screen, but they'll
Right.
futz around with the mouse trying to hit it and you reach over, you hit the return key. What are you doing?
Right. Right.
It's like, it's okay. It's fine. Didn't break.
Right.
Um, no, you must have some great stories. How tech oriented are the people that you're appealing to currently that were early adopters? Are they the kind of people that stand in line for the new iPhone, or they just like the idea and they'll give it a shot? I mean, where are they from a tech standpoint?
I would say very low to no tech. Interestingly, these are not early tech adopters. These are people with a pain that they want it solved. When I describe to them the process of, do you know what happens when you're not here? What frustrates you about your onboarding process? Are you tired of repeating yourself? Do you have a preventative maintenance schedule? All these things just resonate, and
And
it
they're
just
doing like,
hits them right on the nerve,
oh
right?
yeah,
How great would it be? And one of the first things we do is say, the software is installed on one employee and on you. I want you to go home and assign that person something to do and wake up in the morning and see if it got done. And it is like the biggest aha for them. It's like, oh my gosh, I was on my couch when I assigned it. I woke up in the morning and I saw that it was done. It's like this light bulb moment of, I see a little bit of blue sky and sunshine peeking through this dark sky.
I'm writing something down that I'll tell you about in a
Yeah, no
bit.
worries. No worries.
It's not in the restaurant world, but ironically, I was having a discussion very close to this with my
Okay.
developers just before I got off the phone.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
In what
And
way?
so I'm building an application that is designed for the financial services industry, the big
Okay.
guys. Well, that's
Yep.
my background,
Yep.
wealth management. And the biggest problem among many is the number of advisors of my vintage that are retiring in the next 5 to 8 years.
Yep.
And a lot of these advisors are running substantial amounts of retail money.
Yeah.
500 million, a billion and a
Jeez.
half. It's not uncommon.
Wow.
And the senior guys are extraordinarily well paid, but they all started like I did with nothing, with zero.
Yeah. Right.
The problem comes into this next generation of advisors who are wholly unprepared to take over, and they're unable to acquire not the institutional knowledge, but the institutional wisdom these guys built up. So you can't
Right.
take a guy that's been doing it for 40 years
Right.
and have him teach somebody in their third year, here's how you go out and close on a $10 million prospect.
Right.
Just not going to
Right.
happen.
Right. Right.
So the failure rate for the younger generation in that world is, oh, by the third year, 8 out of 10 people fail.
Yep.
It's a hard business, but if you
Yep.
make it, it's great.
Right.
So basically, the way that prospecting has been done, for the most part, is it's cold prospecting.
Okay.
Used to be the phone. Now it might be LinkedIn. Now it might be email. Now it be,
Yeah.
but you end up with a whole bunch of people coming your way. You don't know anything about them. Very few of them are going to talk to you. And even if you get some of them as clients, down the road, you're not even going to like half of them. But what if you could figure out up ahead the type of person that you would get along with?
Well, that's cool.
So I built an app that is dependent upon algorithms that were drawn from behavioral and Jungian psychology. Everyone
Yep.
kind of patterns into certain
Yeah.
categories,
Right.
archetypes.
Right.
Those archetypes have corresponding connectivity to certain professions that, if you've got an engineer, odds are they're not going to get along, and he's become an advisor, they're not going to get along real well with other engineers. They're going to be doing this the whole time.
Right. Right.
But if you got an engineer on one side and someone that really likes to understand the inner workings of what you're doing on the other side, that might be a better. So it does that in a variety of ways, and then it can go out and identify
That's cool.
who's most likely to respond. So we're about to pitch a proof of concept to one of the major firms, and I'm thinking in terms of how you involve. In your case, it would be the restaurant owner. In my case, it would be the office manager
Yes.
to
Yes.
see that
Yes.
their puppies did a certain thing. And I'm
Yes.
thinking, yeah, why wouldn't I use task lists? Why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
And that's going to empower the managers
Right.
to look at their younger people and say, so I don't see any outreach or on these last 5 pieces of research we paid for, because it produces research on a prospect like this
Right.
and literally writes the letter,
Now
and
what?
you've
Yeah.
not sent anything out.
Right. What did you do with it? Right.
Oh, I've been
Right.
doing this, beat it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so
Very.
that was I'm stealing that idea. But
No,
anyway,
good. You should.
that's an application that I wouldn't even call it an adjacent vertical.
Right. Right.
But as far as being able to define a discrete, identifiable task, is it done? It's a yes or no,
Yes. So simple. Right. Right.
which is computers are ones and zeros. So why can't this be yes or no? This is good. I'm
No,
definitely
the
going to,
checkbox is a powerful thing.
oh,
It is
yeah.
yes or no. It's not, well, I tried and then they didn't answer. And that, no, it's a yes or no question. Did you have a conversation? Right. Yeah.
Checklists are the reason airplanes don't fall out of the sky.
Right. They're powerful.
And the I've been flying most of my life, and the only time I've ever had a problem
You
is I
didn't
just
do the
skipped over a
checklist.
checklist.
Yeah.
I just, it's
Right.
like, damn,
That's
why did
it.
I leave the fuel pump on the entire flight? What an idiot.
Right. Right.
Go ahead and run the post takeoff checklist. It was right there. Turn off the fuel pump. Okay.
It's just, and getting in the business owner's mindset now. Like, what is the checklist for your business? Like, what
Yeah.
is it? What makes it run? What makes it operate? What guarantees quality? What guarantees it doesn't fail? Like, what are those things? And then it
So
just,
how many verticals have you identified?
oh, it's limitless. We're narrowing. Well, actually, we're interesting because we have taken on the restaurant vertical. I'd say we're probing 6 additional verticals. Some that we never even thought of. We had a performance coach who coaches high-end executives say, "Yeah, when I talk to executives, I have no idea if they're doing the things on a daily basis that I've coached them to do, and I would love to track that." Because
No
then they're
question
like,
about it.
you didn't do anything for me." Well, let's see what you did this week. Did you do meditation? Did you hit the gym? Did you set a right? Blah blah blah. So it's really interesting. We obviously have a manufacturing application where it's like, yeah, my machine setup, my machine teardown, my inspector list when I'm inspected by the health department, all these things. I mean, it goes on and
You
on
have
and
a
on.
domestic application between a husband and wife.
Now that's dangerous.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
I've heard it for teenagers. People have said, can I give this to my teenager?" I'm like, yeah, probably.
It's your chores list.
Right.
Check, check, check. Oh,
So
that
we're trying to nail it before we scale it. So we want to be good in a vertical because all these other
yeah,
verticals inevitably
they're
have a
always going to
little
be there.
nuance. There's a
Yeah.
nuance. We need this, we need this. But man,
You're
there are
running kind
so
of separate businesses. I love the idea, Justin. It's fascinating. It's creative, and what I love about it is it's obvious when you look at it.
right, right.
It's not like you got to sell the concept to anybody.
What's interesting is, and this is good for those budding entrepreneurs, the way that we came up with our how we message it is after over 100 interviews with people and saw how they digested what we told them. We didn't lead with digital checklists. We started with a tool that automates your business, and it was like you got glazed over, glossed over looks. You got like a tool that helps you with training. Well, welcome to everybody else's training program. And so we started just messaging and messaging and messaging and messaging. And now when we say digital checklist, a light bulb goes on, everybody instantly gets it. And
Well,
so
yeah, because you're defining those pain points first.
that's right.
I mean, when you're
That's right.
talking about things like that, and if anybody that's even been in a restaurant knows that those are pain points across the board. Justin, thanks so much for coming on today. This is really great stuff. I can't wait to call my developers up and say, "Here's what we got to do," and they're going to
I
say,
love it, Gary.
"That's a
I love
great
it.
idea," and I'm going to say, "Yeah, go look at Justin Banner."
I love it. I
It's
love it. Well, I
just
appreciate
been
you having me
excellent,
on. It's been
sir.
a blast chatting with you. Thanks
No,
so
it's
much.
great. How do people find you? Because if anybody's out there and they've got anything they're doing that requires any kind of process, don't go reinvent it yourself. So how do we find you?
Noggin.com, Noggn.com. And we are on the process of signing up people on a wait list for our beta version. So we
Okay.
have our alpha version locked down. We're making some great enhancements. And anyone that's interested in testing out the beta version, no matter what vertical you're in, I would highly encourage you to have a conversation with us by getting on our beta wait list at noggin.com, Noggn.com.
Last question. Where did the name come from?
My partner brought it to me, and I'm the sales and marketing guy, and I liked it. I think it was memorable. I think it looks cool. It's a cool font. I think that it just obviously the idea stemmed from get it out of the owner's
Yeah,
head and into the app, and it just stuck. I hadn't used the word in 20 years, but I think it works.
fascinating. Thanks again, man.
Thanks, Gary. Have a good one. Appreciate
You
it.
too. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to If the Public Only Knew. Don't forget to follow the show and share it with anyone who's ready for the real raw stories behind the business successes. Join Gary next time for another powerful conversation that will leave you inspired and ready to take action.